What happened after Dune? After Paul Atreides claims victory? After the Emperor falls? After the desert world becomes the center of all creation? Does peace come to the Imperium, or does prophecy only lead to more chains? Because the truth is this: the story of Dune does not end with Paul's triumph. It begins there. The universe that rose in his name would be reshaped by gods, rebels, and creatures born of sand, until even time itself bent beneath their will. This is the tale of what came after. When Paul became emperor, he ruled not through fear alone, but through faith. His legions believed him to be the Lisan al-Gaib, the voice from the outer world. Their cry echoed through the stars as they waged holy war in his name. Billions died in the jihad of Muad'Dib. The old noble houses were broken, their armies scattered, entire planets converted or burned. And at the heart of it all stood Arrakis, once a wasteland, now the center of a new empire, a world whose spice controlled the fates of stars. Years passed, and the name Atreides became law across the galaxy. Paul ruled with a mind sharpened by prescience, glimpsing the web of possible futures. Yet the gift that had raised him to godhood became his torment. Every choice he made led to suffering. He could see peace, but only through tyranny. He could see freedom, but only through blood. In every future, humanity enslaved itself to prophecy. Paul had remade the universe, and in doing so had trapped it inside his vision. Enemies gathered in the dark, the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood, the Spacing Guild, and the remnants of House Carino. They feared that Muad'Dib's control over the spice would destroy the delicate balance of power that had held the Imperium together. They could not kill him with blades or armies, so they struck with deception. A Tleilaxu creation, the Gola Duncan Idaho, was sent back to him as a weapon cloaked in loyalty. Yet when Duncan's old memories returned, he could not bring himself to destroy his friend. Their plan failed. But Paul's path was already closing. In the light of a stone burner weapon, his eyes were burned away, and so, blind but guided by inner sight, he walked alone into the deep desert, vanishing among the dunes as Fremen custom demanded. The Prophet Emperor was gone. In his absence, the Empire faltered. The throne passed to his sister Aliyah, a child possessed by the ancestral memories of the Bene Gesserit. At first, she ruled with brilliance and strength, but the echo of Baron Harkonnen within her mind grew louder each year. Meanwhile, Paul's children, the twins Leto II and Ganima, grew into legends of their own. They carried their father's gift of prescience, yet saw further than he ever had. They saw a species destined to die, trapped by its own predictability. Humanity had become too safe, too centralized, too easy to control. Leto saw the terrible pattern stretching across millennia. If left unbroken, humanity would face extinction, either under its own tyranny or at the hands of the machines that once enslaved it. To save mankind, he chose the unthinkable. He would take control not for a generation, but for thousands of years. He would bind humanity so tightly that it would one day explode into freedom, scattered across the stars. To do that, he had to stop being human. Deep in the desert, Leto allowed the sand trout, the larval form of the great sandworms, to bond with his body. They formed a living skin, turning flesh to armor. He grew stronger, faster, more aware of time itself. What began as a man became something vast and alien. Over centuries, his body transformed into that of a giant worm. His mind, though still his own, became fused with the timeless rhythm of Arrakis. He was no longer Leto, he was the god emperor. Leto's reign lasted over 3,000 years. No empire in history matched its peace or longevity. There were no wars, no rebellions, no chaos, but neither was there progress. Humanity stagnated, bound in perfect control. Leto watched over his empire with sorrow. He ruled through fear, crushing all resistance, because that fear was the only thing keeping humanity alive. Under his command, Arrakis transformed. The desert gave way to rivers and grasslands. The worms dwindled. The spice grew scarce. But Leto hoarded it, controlling every grain. He was the source of life and the world itself. Toward the end of his reign, a new voice rose from within his own bloodline. Siona Atreides, a descendant of his family, carried within her a secret that defied his sight. She was invisible to prescience, the one thing Leto could not predict. He saw in her the future he had worked toward, a humanity capable of hiding from gods. He allowed her rebellion to grow, knowing it would bring his death. And when she finally led his assassins to him, he accepted it without resistance. The God Emperor fell into the river beneath the desert, his massive body breaking apart into countless sand trout. From his death came rebirth, and the desert began to return. Leto's death freed the galaxy. The Golden Path, his ultimate plan, was fulfilled. Humanity, unbound from his control, erupted into chaos and expansion. Billions left the known Imperium, fleeing into unknown regions of space. This exodus was called the Scattering. No one knew what awaited them beyond the stars, only that they were free. For the first time in millennia, mankind's future was its own again. Centuries passed, and the old Imperium grew smaller as the scattered ones forged empires of their own. When they returned, they brought with them strange powers and darker ways. Foremost among them were the honoured Matrix, women trained in seduction and dominance, blending the sensual mastery of the Bene Gesserit with the ruthlessness of conquest. They crushed planets beneath their command, driving the old orders to the brink of extinction. On a hidden world called Chapter House, the Bene Gesserit endured. Led by Mother Superior Odrade, they fought to preserve the balance that had guided humanity since the time of Paul Atreides. They began breeding new sandworms, cultivating spice once more in secret. But the honoured Matrix discovered them, and war ignited across the stars. The Sisterhood realised too late that the Matrix were fleeing from something, a greater enemy that lurked beyond human space. From the farthest reaches of the Scattering, ancient horrors stirred again. The thinking machines, long thought destroyed in the Butlerian Jihad, had survived. They had evolved, waiting for humanity to grow complacent. Now they returned, more intelligent and patient than before. They no longer sought domination through war, but through control of destiny itself. Their minds spanned worlds. Their influence reached even into human thought. Amid this rising storm, a familiar figure reappeared, Duncan Idaho. Reborn countless times as a Gola by the Tleilaxu, his memory now stretched across all ages of the Imperium. In him lived the history of Atreides, the legacy of Muad'Dib, and the wisdom of the God Emperor. He became the bridge between the ancient and the new, carrying humanity's memory forward as it faced its oldest foe once again. In the last days of the known Dune universe, humanity stood divided but defiant. The Bene Gesserit, the descendants of Atreides, and the remnants of the Scattering faced the returning machine intellects. Their war was not for territory, but for the soul of the species. Whether humanity would remain free or surrender to the cold perfection of the machines would decide the fate of every world. Even then, the planet that had started it all remained central. Arrakis, Dune, had died and been reborn many times. Desert to paradise, paradise to dust. But always the spice returned, and with it the vision of what humanity might become. The sandworms were carried across galaxies. Their cycle of life and death became the symbol of the universe itself, endless, harsh, and divine. In the end, the story of Dune is not about heroes or empires. It is about the struggle of a species to survive its own dreams. From Paul's visions to Leto's tyranny, from the fall of gods to the rise of machines, every age has turned beneath the same golden sun. The dunes shift, the spice flows, and somewhere, deep in the sand, the echo of Muad'Dib's footsteps can still be heard. Empires crumble, faith fades, yet the desert endures. Arrakis was never merely a planet, it was a mirror, showing what humanity becomes when it seeks power without wisdom and destiny without choice. The story of Dune is not the tale of a world that ended, but of one that never stops beginning.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more great stories. Cheers.